I found a taxi at the train station in Munich, and as we drove into the city, I wondered if the landscape, so much of which had been destroyed in the war and then meticulously reconstructed, might be a metaphor for my own life. When I had taken the job a few months earlier, I had felt almost euphoric at the prospect of change, of leaving the tedium of my old life behind for a new one marked by travel in foreign cities and mysterious assignments. Yet now that I was here, I felt oddly unhinged, not sure if I was doing the right thing in the larger sense of the term, despite reassurances from my superior in New York that everything appeared to be proceeding according to plan. I felt somewhat better on the Maximilianstrasse, where the low winter light bathed the buildings in pastels of yellow and pink. I checked into the Kempinski Hotel, opened in 1858, where it was not hard to believe, and here I quote the receptionist, who though Bavarian delivered this soliloquy in a perfect American accent. We first opened our doors as a grand hotel in an age that espoused what today we may find it hard to relate to, but we have preserved some of these standards and many of the self-imposed obligations that go with them, and have carried them into the 21st century, which just goes to show one thing: the species of luxury, elegance, and service that qualifies for the epithet royal is timeless. I thanked the receptionist for this information and went to my room. When I returned to the lobby, I was only slightly surprised to find the Russian there. I followed him out onto the street, where we walked next to the Opera House for a block or so before crossing the plaza into the royal residence. Though I was somewhat overwhelmed to find myself in a series of buildings once inhabited by Ludwig II, one of the greatest, and not coincidentally gayest, leaders of all time, I was careful not to completely lose sight of the Russian. I next followed him outside, where he turned south and gradually made his way into one of the open-air markets in the oldest part of the city. As we passed stands of fresh fruit, vegetables, and every kind of Bavarian specialty, my thoughts inevitably turned to the idea that, despite statistics to the contrary, quality of life is invariably higher in Europe than in the United States. Rendered despondent by this idea, I was overcome with fatigue and returned to the Kempinski, where I fixated on the rug until I fell into a deep sleep, during which I dreamed of lush Bavarian storefronts that had existed for hundreds of years. I woke up the next morning and checked my email, after which I went directly to the Royal Gardens, behind the residence. I waited in a gazebo-like structure for several minutes and watched people drift through the morning mist. All of them looked suspicious. Eventually, however, I went to the surrounding arcade, and here I had more luck. It occurred to me that I might say something to this man, the Russian, as if he might be able to tell me why I was following him, or even perhaps give me a clue to the larger meaning of my existence. But as I approached, a strange fear gripped me, and I just couldn't ask.